Despite massively declining viewership during season 3, Netflix's The Witcher continues on, and they are going to shed even more viewers based on this most recent casting announcement that sees Laurence Fishburne playing a race to replace Regis, a white vampire as depicted in Andrei Sapkowski's novels, as well as The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt video game. Before we get into this, I'd like to ask you please hit that subscribe button, hit that bell for notifications so you don't miss any of our future videos here at the Trent Report. This out of the way. Got this over at thatparkplace.com. Netflix's The Witcher casts Laurence Fishburne to play a race replaced Regis. Indeed, that is what they have done. The Hollywood Reporter shared that Fishburne has joined season 4 as Regis, a fan favorite character from The Witcher books and games. The character first appeared in Andrei Sapkowski's 5th book in his The Witcher series, Baptism of Fire. In the book, Sapkowski described him a moment later. They saw a grizzled head and then a face embellished with a nobly aquiline nose, belonging by no means to a ghoul, but to a slim, middle-aged man. Obviously, he doesn't provide any kind of specific descriptions of what the character looked like, but we do have a description on the cover of the novel, The Tower of the Swallow, which you can see him right there. This is the 6th book in the series and the 4th novel. That is Regis on the cover, clearly a white man. And then he was also depicted as a white man in The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt video game. You can see this is what he looked like on the Gwent card game. And then here is character art for the Wild Hunt expansion, Blood and Wine, that I'm going to butcher this guy's name, Marcin Blasak shared. You can find all of his concept art and character art for Regis on his ArtStation account, which is linked in that Park Place article, which you can find in the description below. So again, clearly depicted as a white man. So clearly Netflix is eschewing canon, continuity, and favoring their activism. And it's not really surprising. We had the show's casting director, Sophie Holland, informing Janelle Riley's Acting Up newsletter that she casts people to, quote, affect change in viewers and manipulate, quote, their unconscious bias. This is what she kind of said in part. She says, you can affect change in whatever tiny way because you are in people's homes and they're watching this world. And that sort of solidified when I had a child. She's 5 now. And I thought how hard it is to be a girl. I remember thinking I have to help her because she's going to come under attack just like I did. Just because she's a girl, maybe she'll be lucky and get to 9 before somebody calls her a B. And it made me so sad that she was going to experience that and I couldn't protect her from that. But what I could do is change the way people see women through casting. I can make them powerful and empowering. And when the floodgates will open to them. So obviously trying to change the way people perceive people in reality through casting of fictional characters in television shows. And if she does movies, I don't know if she does movies. She primarily does TV shows over at Netflix. She then shared, I do apply this theory to everything, and it makes me push boundaries a little harder because I think representation is important, not just for women, but all minority groups. So she's a racist because she does not think that representation is important for white people, or at least white men. So maybe she's not a racist, but she's a misandrist, it looks like, because it's only important for women and minority groups. So white men are left out. Like, people have different physical abilities, and I think it's important they are seen in strong and fierce roles. Realizing this was a real moment of falling in love with my craft in a way that feels very specific to me. So again, pushing this representation narrative, which is just utter hogwash. She specifically talked about how she did this in The Witcher with Anya Chalotra as Yennefer. She says, I am always the first to champion diversity in all its glory. One that springs to mind was the character of Yennefer on The Witcher. Lauren Schmidt Historick is the showrunner, and we work so well together, and she's so open to conversations. In the book, she's described as the most beautiful woman in the world. This was a few years ago, and I'd like to think things have changed. But when you think about people's unconscious bias, especially in the fantasy world, it felt like these worlds were predominantly white. And I remember saying, I feel like we need to challenge what people think of as the standard of beauty. And having a woman of color in this role does incredibly powerful things to the people watching. So she clearly is trying to change how people think through her activism and through her casting. One cannot help but think that Laurence Fishburne's casting was done to the same effect as Regis. But I don't think people will be tuning in to watch it. So fortunately, fewer and fewer people will be indoctrinated or exposed to this woman's heinous activism through the casting. The third season received a rotten 54% audience score on Rotten Tomatoes. If you look at IMDb, the seventh episode of the third season had an abysmal 4.2 out of 10. And then there were numerous episodes that had scores in the fives as well. You had episode 3 receiving a 5.7. Episode 4 had a 5.4. Episode 5 had a 5.9, and the season finale received a 5.3. On top of the show receiving absolutely atrocious scores from audiences, we also saw viewership significantly decline. If you look at the numbers from Netflix, when the first part of season 3 was released back in June, they reported that it had 73 million hours viewed and 15.2 million views. However, it declined to 7.8 million views and 59 million hours watched when it released the second part. And that was just a month after the first part dropped. So they lost almost half of their viewership in less than a month. That's just how poorly received season 3 was. And I don't think season 4 is going to improve at all. Henry Cavill is out. He's been replaced by Liam Hemsworth. They're now trying to bring in Laurence Fishburne. And I think Laurence Fishburne is a great actor. Don't get me wrong. Love his stuff as Morpheus in The Matrix, and then the Bowery King, obviously, in the John Wick franchise. And then I actually kind of enjoy his character in the Blackish television show as well. He's usually seemingly bringing some kind of reason to his son, and is kind of matter of fact about it. And he does a really good job in that as well. Very different from the characters of the Bowery King and Morpheus. But just to show you how far season 3 has declined from season 1, these are the 10 most popular television shows, English language television shows on Netflix. The Witcher season 1 is 9th on this list. 663.6 million hours watched and 83 million views. If we just take those first 2 weeks for the part 1 of season 3, we're looking at 15.2, and then part 2 is 7.8. So that's what we're at 16 plus 7, 23 million, I think, is what we're at there just with those 2 weeks. Obviously, it's probably a little bit higher because they probably did have some viewership going into its second and third weeks, but probably fell off completely after that. So 23 million is nowhere near what Witcher season 1 was. We're looking at almost a 75% decline in viewership with season 3 from season 1. It's probably a little lower than that. It's probably closer to like maybe 65-70% if we added up all of season 3's numbers over the course of its run. But still very, very poor. Not doing well. You would hope that you'd want to have your viewership increase. You would be bringing more people in to watch your show, as Prime Video is doing with Reacher. And for anyone trying to say like, oh, it always declines, you're always going to have bleed off. Well, that's not true. We see that with Reacher proving that wrong. You can have an increase in viewership from season 1 to season 2. So I don't think Laurence Fishburne's casting is going to do anything to help Netflix's The Witcher. I think it's on a continual decline. I think it's because they've embraced the woke ideology. And that's kind of what they're trying to push now. It's everywhere as part of the show. I mean, we have this casting director admitting that she's casting it. Part of her casting is done to promote woke ideology. And when you're doing it, even at that level, the show is just destined to fail because, it's been put in the story. It's been put in the storytelling as well. And that stuff just stinks, and it's never any good. But let me know what you guys think about Netflix casting Laurence Fishburne as Regis for season 4 of The Witcher. Let me know in the comments below. And remember to always be charitable, but to always speak the truth.